sat with the president of Ghana and had tea and crumpets, didn't even know what it was, and it tasted horrible. At the same time, we went right out in the back of the field and had a crusade, but first we dug a ditch and helped plant a well in a company, and I had to get sweat now right in my dress clothes, just did the thing, because I'm called to reach all kinds of people, and God's made me that way. And I'm thankful because that's why when I go to the black church, I can fit in with them. If I go into the Hispanic church, my Spanish is poquito, but at the same time, I know just a little bit to be dangerous. He's called me to do that. And what God has called us to do is have respect for that. Yes. Is have respect for other people. And many times, where I was going with this, is that many times when you get in other cultures of people, there's a stigma of the man. And a lot of that goes to insecurities. And because I'm going to be vague, because people are going to get these DVDs and watch this, and my heart is pure, and I will never talk against a race of people or anything. But what I've found is that many churches are out of balance in these different cultures. Yes. Even and we'll just say it, in the white church. Can we say it like that? We're out of balance in a lot of things. Yes. But God's trying to bring balance. And I feel like God has allowed me to go through these different races of people to glean things from them. But there are some churches that I go to that if I step on the premises and I'm holding my own Bible, ushers almost tackle me to the ground to grab my Bible because the man of God is so holy he can't even carry his own Bible. Sometimes I just slap them and say, "This is my Bible. Just let me have it." Yeah. And I allow them to do that because in their own way, that's their mode of service, and that's what means something to them. Yes. There are some churches that I go into that as the preacher, you would never even know I was there. You can walk in, and people don't even know who you. And if you're sitting in their seat, they'll say, "Get out of my seat," that kind of thing. It's an entirely different extreme. And I believe there's a balance in that. Yes. I'm not saying that you've got to wait on me hand and foot, but at the same time, I found that what you serve, you become connected to. And that you will only have as much authority as you're willing to submit to. That's why people that can't be taught and people that can't sit down and get instruction, usually in their life, they've got the little big dog syndrome. Yes. They think they're all big and bad, and you can see them coming a mile away. Have you ever been on the job? And my last job, I had this one sergeant that was over me. And every time he would walk in my building, I would just do this right here because everything would go crazy. Because he had just got promoted and felt like it was his job to make everybody respect him. So he walked in with an attitude, a chip on his shoulder, and people recognized that. They hated to see him coming. And his whole issue was no one could teach him about his job because he felt like he knew it all. So because he wasn't willing to submit to our lieutenants and our captains and our major, because he wasn't willing to do that through the process, he developed this attitude problem, and he had a distorted self-perception, and it affected everyone that he was around. And I want you to be careful. You got to be careful in that. That's why I believe that if you want to serve me, it took me a while to say that, but that's okay. And I'm not saying serve your pastor, somewhat. I'm not afraid of you, I'll say it. Because I believe that there has to be respect in that. Yes. And the balance is, and the problem, and we're going to get to this just in a second when we come to a close, because it's really more teaching tonight, because I feel like we got to learn something before we go forward. But the problem is, if you don't respect me, you can't receive from me. And if you don't trust my ability to hear from God, when I speak into your life, it's going to mean nothing to you. But I'm not saying take it to the opposite extreme, the polar opposite to the point that you think I am God, because that's not true either. Yes. And I will miss it sometimes. I'm going to go ahead and take it. Not a lot. I've been doing this a little while. This is my 10th year of full-time ministry. But I believe God's given me wisdom beyond my years. I haven't been preaching as long as Bishop. But that's why I got Bishop. He helps me out. So for all the time he's been preaching, I can add it to my 10 years of full-time ministry. And guess what? I got quite a bit of experience. And I'm thankful for that. So there has to be balance in that. And we see in this story, they were trying to give honor, but they took it too far. And the problem that happened in Paul, and when I ever talk about the Apostle Paul, by no means. The man wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. I got to give him credit for that. But where we see something difficult happen is that he took it to so much the extreme to say, "Don't worship me, I'm just like you." And that was true to a sense. But you have to honor the office that God sets on somebody's life. Yes. That's why it's not about me. But guess what? When I get in this pulpit, I'm not necessarily me. I'm God's mouthpiece to speak to you. Yes. Am I trying to promote myself? By no means. That's why I'll go out and cut the grass when I'm not in the pulpit, because it's okay. I'm ordinary. But at the same time, God has placed an office on my life. And I'm saying this because if you don't understand where I'm coming from and why I do what I do, you might miss it. And I want you to understand that. But here's where the Apostle Paul, here's where things went too far, is that instead of bringing balance, he said, I'm so much like you. He was saying, don't give me credit. Don't respect the office of my life. And there was such a backlash because people don't want fivefold ministry. People want superheroes. I lost everybody on that one. We want somebody so super spiritual and so amazing that it gives us hope to feel like that because they're better, if we can pay our tithes to them, or if we can give an offering, or if we can be in some type of prayer line and get connected to them because they're so amazing and so awesome, because they can leap tall buildings in a single bound and dodge a speeding bullet, that somehow the awesomeness of their life will transfer over to us and make us have some type of hope. We don't want to hear things like they're normal. And I'm just going to go ahead and say, the day of the superhero preacher is over. Yes. The day of everything being on the platform and all the talent is over. Yes. And I believe to really be effective in ministry, we've got to be so widespread and be diverse and understand that our significance is in our difference and not in our likeness. That God is calling us to, as the body of Christ, in our own way to do different things. And the problem was these people had such a backlash because they were looking for someone that was great that they could idolize. And if you don't believe me, you know you got that favorite preacher that comes on TV. It should be your pastor, but you got the favorite preacher. Comes on, and every time he comes on there, you're setting the VCR, or you're telling the kids to hush and be quiet, and you want to watch it. You're connected to it. That's good. But we do that most of the time because we idolize that person. In the sense that we feel like, wow, they've got the newest stuff, the newest things coming. Look at the success they're having. They must be doing something right. And I want us to be careful with that. Don't put so much faith in the man that you lose sight of God. And what happened in this situation is, here's the church. They were looking for a leader. And instead of Paul saying, okay, I'll be your leader, but let's have balance with it. I'm not God. I hear from God, but I'm not God. He said, I'm so ordinary. Don't look to me like that. And they had such a backlash that it said that they didn't know what to do. So they became discord, and they end up stoning the man that they just were trying to worship. Yes. Where's all the leaders? If you lead anything, every man in this place that's married that has a family should raise your hand because you are a leader over your household. Just let me see your hands. If you lead, and this goes for women, if you lead anything, if you have a function in ministry, I want you to pay close attention to this very carefully. The leader got stoned. Hello. Has any leader ever been there? I compare it to a lifeguard jumping in the pool to save someone that's drowning. Many times the person you're trying to help will fight you, and as a lifeguard, they will teach you if you have to knock them unconscious to get them to the side of the pool, do what it takes to get it done. But the problem is, many times when people begin to fight us, it's like we're getting stoned. Yes. And it's tough. Because as soon as you get hit one time, bam, here comes something else from another direction, bam, and then here comes something else, bam. And if you're not careful, you'll get so discouraged in the process of being stoned. I'm so thankful that God made me hard-headed. Because, wow, when people start throwing stuff at me, I just start throwing it back. I'm not afraid. I will. That's just me. But the leader got stoned. And it said that they drug him outside of the city. They drug him outside of the place he was trying to touch. Has anybody ever felt so outside in what you're trying to reach on, what you're trying to develop? Have you just felt so disconnected and you just feel like you're not even a part of what's going on? Have you ever been there? They drug him outside the city and they said they thought that he was dead. In other words, they moved on and said there's nothing else he can offer me. He's been overcome by the pain. He's been overcome by tragedy. He's been overcome by heartache. He's not even in the same place where we need him to be right now. He's just dead. Let's move on. But it said there was a group of people. Praise team, can you just go ahead and get ready to give me some help because I feel something is about to break here. It said that as they stood around their former leader and they just said, what are we supposed to do? Lions and tigers and bears, oh my, we're just so scared. We don't know what to do. It says that the leader got up. It says that he came to and he stood up. And what am I talking about tonight? I want to talk to every timid leader and every timid person because it's time that you stand up. And I realize your area of influence may have been cut off and you may have been drug out according to the area that you feel like you're supposed to reach. But understand, if you get up, it says he got up and he came to, and then the part I love about the story is it said he went back into the town, the same place he was trying to touch, and said, I'm not giving up, I'm not giving out, nothing will stop me, you can't run me off enough. If God told me to be here, I'm going to be here. And it said he looked at the same people